Welcome to Foreign Affairs Focus. I have the distinct pleasure of chatting today with Ambassador Robert Blackwill, former ambassador to India, long-term U.S. diplomat and national security official who's now a fellow at the Council. Bob, it's good to see you here again.
Thank you for having me.
Bob wrote a very interesting article for us in Foreign Affairs a little while ago called Plan B for Afghanistan, in which you basically argued for a partial pullback. What do you think has happened with American policy in Afghanistan in the years since you wrote that, and where does it go from here?
Well, what I argued then is that the counterinsurgency strategy was failing. It was failing because the Afghan army wasn't up to dealing with the Taliban. It was failing because Karzai's government was utterly corrupt. It was failing because the Taliban's not interested in negotiation. It was failing because the Pakistan army supports the Taliban and Haqqani network in Pakistan. None of that has changed. So I'm equally pessimistic now as I was then. And the only question is, when will we decide we cannot occupy any longer the Pashtun homeland and pull out and stop dying there?
Has the Obama administration moved towards an eventual pullout, in your view?
Well, the New York Times reported last week that they were thinking of accelerating, but I have this thought, which was not in the Foreign Affairs piece. American presidents often make big mistakes in their first terms. One thinks of the Bay of Pigs and so forth. And for a long time I thought Obama, I didn't agree with everything he did, but no big mistakes. I think setting that deadline for U.S. withdrawal at the end of 2014 is a big strategic mistake, and it destroys any possibility of bringing this to a negotiated solution. If you were the Taliban, why in the world would you negotiate away your position when you know the Americans and NATO are leaving in 2 years? So
is the mistake that we shouldn't get out, or the mistake that we should get out, but we want to leave something different behind, and now we can't do the latter?
Well, the first mistake was to take all of the leverage away from us as we try to influence the regional actors by telling them we're leaving. But where should we go from here? Well, Plan B argues that we should pull out of the Pashtun homeland and defend to the rest of the country with those ethnic groups who are supporting us, unlike the Pashtuns. That's basically what it argues. I think that we'll either eventually get there or a total withdrawal. And I'm worried about a total withdrawal because then I think it'll ignite a very deep and prolonged civil war, which will bring the neighbors in and so forth. But that appears to be the path the president's on. Now, we'll see what happens in our election and whether that might change something.
The United States' relationship with Pakistan has always been in crisis, but it seems to be in an even deeper crisis now than usual, almost perhaps at a breaking point. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think it's at a breaking point. I'm not sure exactly what the breaking point means, but because the United States needs Pakistan, most importantly, to resupply its forces in Afghanistan. But Pakistan itself is in systemic decline. If you don't like 2011 in Pakistan, you'll like 2012 less, and if you don't like 2012, you'll like 2013 less. And that, of course, should worry us because of Pakistan's 100-plus nuclear weapons and so forth. I think the main point I would make is the United States is at the margin of affecting the future of Pakistan. We Americans like to think that we're social engineers, and we fail again and again and again trying to social engineer different countries. We failed in Afghanistan, of course. So I think the two sides will try to keep the relationship going. My own prescription is cut off all military assistance that's not directly connected to counterinsurgency, and try to reduce our dependence on the Karachi resupply line by going the northern route through Russia, and just be ready for a very long period of Pakistan as one of the 2 or 3 biggest international problems.
If the United States is pulling out of Afghanistan, if it's moving towards an even more diminished relationship with Pakistan, even as it has a strong and growing relationship with a strong and growing India, what's so bad about pulling back from this corner of the world? What would you say to Americans who said, why should we be deeply enmeshed in Central Asia and South Asia in the first place?
Well, as I said, we've had 10 years in Afghanistan, and if we pull out now, the Indians, the Pakistanis, the Russians, the Uzbekis, the Iranians will ignite the whole region, and we have to keep remembering, Nietzsche once said, man's most enduring stupidity is forgetting what he is trying to do. We are trying to avoid, first and foremost, a war between India and Pakistan because it could lead to nuclear use. And we don't want Afghanistan to be the latest front in the India-Pakistan confrontation. So that's that. On Pakistan, we just can't be indifferent to a country that is coming apart internally and has 150 nuclear weapons. We're enormously and properly preoccupied with Iran that doesn't have one, and we have Pakistan with over 100. So we can't let it be. We have to do what we can to externally assist in the stabilization of the place. But I'm pessimistic about, at least for the foreseeable future, about us being able to do much about that.
So Pakistan can't live with it, can't live without it.
Right.
Another cheerful session of foreign affairs focus. Thank you very much, and thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Gideon.